Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Hope you guys are doing well on this Saturday afternoon. Today's video on the channel, I'm going to be ranking the NRL spines going into the 2021 NRL season in order from 16 up to 1. So from, the worst spines all the way up to the best spines. Now, before I get into the video, let me just say by stating, if I put your team down the bottom here in terms of the best spine and the worst spine, don't hate me for it. I apologise. I hope that team proves me wrong. I hope that spine proves me wrong. So I just want to give a little disclaimer before I get into the video. And also, I just want to announce really quickly before I do start the video, at 5:45, 6 o'clock New South Wales time, or 4:45, 5 o'clock if you're in Queensland, I'm going to be joining a up-and-coming rugby league female YouTuber known as the Bundy Chick 82. I'm going to be going on to her YouTube channel this afternoon, and we're going to be starting a little podcast series. It's going to be called Rugby League Obstruction. So it's on the Bundy Chick 82's YouTube channel. If you don't know how to find that channel, it's all in one word, the Bundy Chick 82. So I'll be live with her in about an hour's time. So if you're not doing anything, just stop by. We're going to be talking about the NRL season, our top eights, and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to come and just sit down and relax and enjoy a bit of rugby league talk with me and the Bundy Chick 82, then make sure you stop by for the rugby league obstruction this afternoon. But let's get into this video. So the top 16 NRL spines going into the 2021 NRL season. So if I put your team down the bottom, I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel at this stage. So we're going to go from the worst up to the best. So the 16th best NRL spine, or the 16th NRL spine going into 2021, I've gone with the Brisbane Broncos spine of Jermaine Asako, Anthony Milford, Tom Dearden, and Jake Turpin. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys have potential to do some good things in their careers, but at the moment, I don't see how this spine is is a concern. You can't really, if you have a look at this team on paper and you look at the spine of Asako, Milford, Dearden, and Turpin, you can't tell me that spine is going to really intimidate you when you're going up against this Broncos side. Now, don't get me wrong, the Broncos have got some good players in different positions, but we're talking about spines here. Asako at fullback doesn't really frighten me too much, but he could surprise us. Milford hasn't really fired a shot for a while, so I'm very concerned about that. Tom Dearden, a fine young kid coming through, but nothing special yet. And Jake Turpin, he didn't really play a lot last year because the Broncos were so bad. They had players in all sorts of positions, but I think the Broncos spine going into this season, I think it is probably the worst spine at the moment. So I got the Broncos ranked as the 16th spine going into this year. The 15th best spine or worst spine, whatever, going into this year, the 15th place spine, I've gone with the West Tigers spine of Dane Laurie, Adam Dewey, Luke Brooks, and Jacob Little. Now, look, this spine doesn't have anything to do with my ladder prediction. This is just how I feel about the spines. Now, the West Tigers spine. Now, Dane Laurie, a very good young fullback coming through. I saw him play in that trial game against Manly. But hey, again, it's only a trial game. You could score 4 or 5 tries in a trial game and then do nothing in your first NRL game. So I wouldn't take much notice off a trial game of Dane Laurie's performance there. Adam Dewey at 5'8", has potential to be good, but it's still a bit unproven at 5'8". Luke Brooks hasn't been able to deliver a top 8 spot in his career and hasn't been able to lead a team to the finals on his own yet. And Jacob Little, arguably one of the worst hookers going into this year. So I think the Tigers spine has a lot of question marks. I think it's pretty ordinary. So I got the West Tigers spine ranked as 15th. The 14th spine going into this year, I've got the Dragons. Now, obviously, the Dragon spine is going to be Matt Duffy, Corey Norman, Ben Hunt, and Andrew McCulloch. Now, don't get me wrong, the Dragon spine could surprise us all. We all know what Matt Duffy can do. We all know Corey Norman on his day can be okay. Ben Hunt on his day can be good. And McCulloch, a very experienced player. But with the way the game's played at the moment, with the pace of the game, I don't know if the likes of McCulloch can go with the speed of the game. Corey Norman is so inconsistent. He always seems to get in trouble off the field. Ben Hunt, we all know he's a confidence player. If he loses his confidence, he's all over the shop. And Matt Duffy, a very consistent player, but only so much he can do, in my opinion. So, as much as I want to see the Dragons do well, their spine is a bit ordinary for mine. So, I've got the Dragon spine ranked as 14th. Now, the 13th spine going into 2021 might surprise a lot of you guys out there. And I've already said this team is going to be the big disappointment of the year. And the 13th spine going to this year is the Gold Coast Titans spine. Now, don't get me wrong. The Titans have got a good forward pack and a decent back line. But the spine, the fullback, 5'8", halfback, and hooker, they've only got two positions there that are actually okay. Now, let me explain it. AJ Brimson at fullback. He's a fantastic fullback, AJ Brimson. Fantastic. Probably in the top 7, top 8 fullbacks in the game. Ash Taylor at 5'8". He is an absolute failure. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be unbiased here, but Ash Taylor really sucks, man. If you're gonna have a good, if you're gonna have some good form at the back end of the year, why can't you do it in the first 14 weeks of the season? But you know, the spine, Brimson, Taylor, Fogarty, and Mitch Rain. Brimson and Fogarty are solid players, but they're not in the top 5 in their positions just yet. Ash Taylor, I think, is probably in the top 5 worst 5'8" in the game. Mitch Rain wouldn't even make the top 10 hookers. You know, the Gold Coast spine, it is a little bit better than the Tigers, Broncos, and Dragons, but not by a whole lot. So I think Brimson is the best player in their spine. Fogarty is a close second, but Fogarty's only had one good year in his whole NRL career so far. But look, I could be wrong about the Gold Coast here, but their spine for mine, I'm ranking it 13th. Now, the 12th spine I've got going into this year is the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, their spine is looking like Corey Allen, Brendan Wakeham, Kyle Flanagan, and Jeremy Marshall-King. Now, Corey Allen, a very solid player. I think he'll do a good job at the Bulldogs. Brendan Wakeham, a bit like what's his name, Adam Dewey. Is he really that good in the halves? We'll see how he goes. Kyle Flanagan and Jeremy Marshall-King. Now, Flanagan's a really good player coming through. Marshall-King at hooker, I have question marks. Now, look, I think the Titans and the Bulldogs spines are actually quite similar. Now, Corey Allen, a bit like AJ Brimson. They both had a game of Origin last year. They both did a pretty solid job. So they're probably around the same boat, but Brimson's probably a little bit better. But I think Allen's not far away. Wakeham versus Taylor. I think Wakeham's a better player than Ash Taylor. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kyle Flanagan versus Jamal Fogarty. I think Fogarty probably gets a nod there, but Flanagan, man, he's a solid player. And Marshall King versus Mitch Rain. I could probably rate Marshall King higher than Mitch Rain, but the Bulldog spine, man, it ain't too bad at all. So I think the Bulldog spine at 12th is probably a fair spot for them at the moment. The next spine in 11th, I've got the Sharks. Now, the Sharks, I think they have the 11th best spine going into this year. Obviously, their spine is fullback Matt Moylan, halves Johnson and Townsend, and hooker Blake Brayley. Now, obviously, I'm basing this off teams at full strength. So, I think the Sharks spine is actually quite underrated. You know, Matt Moylan, a very good player on his day when he's not having any injury dramas. Sean Johnson, probably in the top 5, top 6 halves in the game when he's fit. Chad Townsend, he's won a grand final, but he's very inconsistent. And Blake Brayley, a fine hooker coming through. I think the Sharks spine's pretty solid, so I don't think it's anywhere near the best or anything like that, but I think it's a decent spine, but I think there's plenty of experience there for the Sharks, and I don't think they're as good as spine as any other big size or anything like that, but their spine is quite solid for mine, so I've got them as the 11th best spine going into this year. Now, the 10th best spine going into the 2021 NRL season, I've selected the New Zealand Warriors spine of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Cody Nikorima, Chanel Harris-Tavita, and Wade Egan. Now, obviously, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, he is a top 5 fullback in the game. He's a phenomenal player, a great athlete, and he obviously makes the spine look very good. Cody Nikorima, Chanel Harris-Tavita. Nikorima's probably in the top 8, top 9 halves in the comp. Harris-Tavita, probably in the top 10. And the hooker, Wade Egan, he's probably outside the top 10 best hookers. He wouldn't be in that top 10 list. So although I think the Warriors spine is very exciting and very good going into this year, I don't think it's anywhere near the best or anything. So I probably rate them a little bit higher than Cronulla, but not by a whole lot. I think RTS makes the Warriors spine stand out very well, and everyone knows how big of a fan I am of Chanel Harris-Tavita, and Nick Remo had a great year last year, and Wade Egan is a bit of a unrecognised hooker. So I think the Warriors spine's solid, but I've got them at number 10 for mine. The ninth best spine going into this year, I've got my team, the Cowboys. Now, that's probably a fair spot for the Cowboys spine. Obviously, they've had injury dramas with Michael Morgan being out and the inconsistency of Scotty Drinkwater. Now, the Cowboys spine is Valentine Holmes, Scott Drinkwater, Michael Morgan, and Reece Robson. Now Valentine Holmes obviously had a slow start to the year last year, coming back from the NFL. Started slow, which was expected. Had a pretty good back end of the season. Scott Drinkwater had a pretty average year last year. I thought he had a couple. He had a lot of try assists, but he kept dropping the ball a lot. Michael Morgan didn't really play much, and Reece Robson had a good year. I think the Cowboys spine on paper looks very good, but they got to try and put that paper form on the field as well. So I think the Cowboys spine's really good. You know, if you give me a fit Michael Morgan who plays 20 games out of 25, I think the Cowboys spine gets rated pretty well. So I've got the Cowboys spine ranked as number 9 going into this season. Now, the top 8 spines, now this is going to be a very good one here. The 8th best spine going into this year, I've got the Newcastle Knights. Now, the Newcastle Knights spine looks like Kalen Ponga, Blake Green, Mitchell Pearce, and Jaden Brayley. Now, Kalen Ponga, probably a top 5 fullback in the game, probably around that 4th, 5th mark, as in terms of the best fullbacks. Quality player, Queensland fullback for a reason. Does a great job. Blake Green, he won't be back to round 13, round 12. Actually, I think he might be back earlier now. I heard he's back in round 3, but Blake Green, a very experienced half. I think he'll complement Mitchell Pearce quite well. Pearce at halfback, we all know how good he is. He is a top 5 halfback. And Jaden Brayley, they missed him last year big time. So I think Newcastle's spine is very strong. Ponga, Green, Pearce, Brayley, a lot of experience there. I think it's a good spine the Knights have got. So I think they can do some good things this year, the Knights, with their spine. So I've got them ranked as the 8th best spine going into this year. The 7th best spine going into this year, I have got the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Obviously, their spine at full strength is very good. Tom Trbojevic, Kieran Foran, Daly Cherry Evans, and Cade Cass. Now, obviously, Tommy Turbo, phenomenal athlete, just needs to stay fit. Kieran Foran, very good player. I think he's probably around the top 7, top 8, 5/8 in the competition. DCE's in the top 5, top 3, best halfbacks in the game. Cade Cass, an unproven dummy half, so that's why I've got Manly's spine around 7th. If Manly had a recognised hooker who was quite decent, they would be in the top 4 spines of mine. But as of right now, I've got them ranked as the 7th best spine going into this year. And I think if they can get Turbo fit and Foran and DCE can really combine well, and if Cade Cass can do a job at hooker, I think Manly's spine will get rated a bit higher. But as of right now, I've got them ranked as the 7th best spine going into this year. Now, the 6th best spine going into this season, I've got the Parramatta Eels spine of Clint Gutherson, Dylan Brown, Mitchell Moses, and Reid Marnie. Now, obviously, Clint Gutherson, you know, he's the king, apparently. Well, I don't know why he's the king, but apparently that's his nickname, King Guffo. Now, Clint Gutherson, the fullback of the year last year, was fantastic. Dylan Brown was great last year when Moses was out injured. Mitchell Moses had an okay season. And Reid Marnie, probably in the top 5, top 7 hookers in the comp. The Eels spine, man, it's good. Gutherson's a great leader. He does a great job for him. He's an origin player. Dylan Brown, I think he's the future 5'8 of the New Zealand Kiwis. Mitchell Moses, probably around the top 5, top 7 halfbacks in the game. And Reid Marnie, he's a very good player. Does the job week in, week out. I think Parramatta's spine can really build going into this year. But as of right now, I think putting them as the 6th best spine going into this year is a fair spot for them. Now, let's get into the top 5. The 5th best spine going into this year, I've got the Sydney Roosters, the team I've tipped to win the whole premiership this year, the Roosters. Now, their spine looks like James Tedesco, Luke Keary, Lachlan Lamb, and Jake Friend. Plenty of quality there, man. Tedesco, one of the best players in the world. Luke Keary, a world-class 5'8", won 3 premierships. Lachlan Lamb, a young half coming through, a little bit unproven still. And Jake Friend, won 3 comps, so much experience. Now, the Roosters' spine could be ranked a bit higher. Some might be a little bit mad about that, but I think the other teams around them have got a bit of a better spine at the moment. But the Roosters' spine, man, has got experience. It's got quality. It's a great spine, so I've got them ranked as the 5th best spine going into this year. Now, the 4th best spine going into 2021, I've got the Canberra Raiders. Now, the Canberra Raiders spine, man, it is so good. Charles Nickel-Klokstad, Jack Whiten, George Williams, Josh Hodgson. Now, some people could rank the Raiders spine as the best, and if they did, I can't argue with you. It's a great spine. CNK, a phenomenal fullback, probably in the top 5, top 7 fullbacks in the game. Jack Whiten, probably in the top 2 best 5'8" in the game. George Williams, probably in the top 3 halfbacks in the comp. And Josh Hodgson, if Cam Smith's retired, then I think Hodgson's the best hooker in the game. So, Canberra's spine is quality. It is world class. It is brilliant. So, I think 4th is a good spot for them at the moment. They could be number 1 very soon. Wouldn't be surprised. But as of right now, I've got them as the 4th best spine going into this year. Now, the 3rd best spine going into this year is the team that made the grand final last year and were defeated. And I've got the Penrith Panthers as the 3rd best spine going into this year. Now, Dylan Edwards, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Abby Coruscant. Fantastic spine. They won 17 games in a row last year. They lost 1 game last year. They had a draw last year. You know, some would say top 2, top 1, but I think 3rd might be a fair spot for them. Obviously, getting beaten in the big game obviously hurts them. If the Penguins had won the comp last year, I'd have them as the best spine going into this year. But I think at the moment, I think their spine is the 3rd best going into this year. Dylan Edwards, man, fantastic fullback. He had a good year last year. Jerome Luai, he is the future. I've got him winning the 5'8" Dally M medal. I've got him winning Dally M 5'8" Player of the Year. Nathan Cleary, a fantastic halfback, and Abby Coruscant, he's in the top 3 hookers in the game. He's world class. Penrith spine, man, it's very good, and I think it's the 3rd best spine going into this year. Now, the 2nd best spine going into this year, I've got the Rabbitohs, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I think their spine is the 2nd best going into this year. But here's the thing. Everyone's going to go off their head and say, how can you put South's spine above Penrith? Here's the thing. Latrell Mitchell was injured in the finals. If Latrell Mitchell plays in that game against Penrith, I think it's a closer game. Now, look, Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, Adam Reynolds, Damien Cook. It is a world-class spine, man. World-class. Now, look, Latrell Mitchell, I think he is a fantastic player. Cody Walker, he is so good at what he does. Adam Reynolds, fantastic game manager. Damien Cook, phenomenal hooker. I think the Rabbitohs spine going into this year is absolutely phenomenal. I think they'll do a good job this year, the Rabbitohs. Their spine is world class. And it's pretty rare that those sort of players like Walker and Reynolds and Cook and Latrell and all those sort of players, if they have it's rare that they have a couple of bad games in a row. They're going to be consistent most of the year. They'll probably only lose about 7, maybe 6 or 7 games this year. They're going to be very hard to beat South. So I think they have the 2nd best spine going into this year. Now, number 1, you already know who I'm going to say. The best spine going into this year. I've got the Melbourne Storm, Pappenhausen, Munster, Jerome Hughes, Harry Grant. I mean, there's not much to say here, man. It's just so good. Pappenhausen, a top 5 fullback. Munster, a top 2 5'8". Jerome Hughes, a top 5 halfback. Harry Grant, probably a top 5 hooker. I think the Melbourne Storm have the best spine going into this year. They won the grand final last year. There is no Cameron Smith, obviously, but they've still got 3 players in that spine that won the premiership last year. I think the Melbourne Storm spine, it is the best spine going into this year. I might get out of here, guys. There's a stupid mail going on in the background. But look, let me know your best spines going into this year. I'd love to know your best spine going into this year. Leave a comment in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, I'm getting out of here. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I will be on the Bunny Chick 82's YouTube channel for a little live stream podcast in about half an hour or so. So I hope to see you guys on there. But until then, guys, As always, stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.